For our next session, we go back to Christian, who will be describing the importance of integration to deliver solutions that work across the industry.
Thank you, Laura. I mentioned the friction the pandemics have put to travelers on the travel journey. And one of the friction is to prove your health status is okay to travel. This is maybe the most complex part in the safe travel ecosystem. Let's take a look back at the situation which we had in December 2020. At that time, vaccinations around the world had just started. There was no proof necessary to board a plane, whether it's being a test or a vaccination, and the health status was entirely on paper. Early 2021, the first solutions on digital health status, mainly around tests, have been in pilot mode, and we had about 4 providers which offered a solution which was building a trust network to labs and then creating a digital proof of evidence of your test results. In spring 2021, we've seen an explosion of health pass solutions around the world in different areas, from private sector, but also from the public sector. And we've seen around 50 different initiatives worldwide, maybe even more. The first airlines have started to explore the potential, but the adoption was rather low at that point of time. If we look at today, then we see digital health platforms aggregating digital health passports to cope with the amount which I mentioned before. And as Amadeus, we've put in place a seamless integration of several digital health partners into our airline boarding and check-in systems. We have extended that not only on digital solutions, but also to cope with paper, which we either scan and then search for the information, or can hand over to an airline back office for manual processing. If we look at what's happening now, we see that governments have taken the control over the digital solutions. This is true, especially for vaccination, because they want to have a digital vaccination certificate, which is okay to travel. But they were also aiming on reducing the fraud, which we've seen with paper, and aimed at one single solution per country for test results and for lab connectivity. The majority of those formats have moved into a QR code, which is self-contained, so the data is visible, but it has been digitally signed to protect fraud. And one of the examples is the European Union Digital COVID Certificate, which has created a format for a full region, not only the member states of the European Union, but we see more and more countries signing up for this format, even on the America side and on the APAC region. And as Amadeus, we've included the European Union Digital COVID Certificate already into our processes of the self-service check-in for the airlines, and this is in production today. Now we also see several initiatives to harmonize the various QR codes for vaccinations and tests and recovery, which have been created by the governments and by the private sector across the world. One of them is ICAO, which is aiming at creating one format for the travel industry. Another one is the Good Health Pass initiative, aiming at making those QR codes interoperable by converting them into a format which can be exchanged. Amadeus is member of the Good Health Pass initiative, and we support the industry here with our expertise. But the goal which we want to see is a mutual acceptance of the different national standards. This is what needs to be resolved on the political level, like we've seen in the European Union, but also on the G20. We've seen that talks about that, and the World Health Organization is also coming up with a proposal how that could be harmonized. If we look at the next to challenges, then the first one is interoperability and mutual acceptance of the various QR codes, as I just mentioned. As we have integrated various digital health platforms and partners into our self-service check-in solution, we can read, for example, a Canadian QR code and also the European Union DCC, and therefore create the interoperability as such with the digital acceptance if political mutual acceptance is there. The second challenge is around the different country regulations. If you look again at only the European Union, which have a common format, there are no two countries which have put in place the same country regulations in their rule sets. So it's important that we maintain and harmonize here, if possible, the rules with our partner Riskline, and that we foresee changes coming and include them in the data, like the vaccines being accepted by which country. With this, I'd like to hand over to my dear colleague, Francois Blanc, Managing Director, Traveler Identity Services at Amadeus.
Thank you, Christian, for the invitation. It's really exciting to be back here and report on the progress we've made. When we last spoke in December last year, we decided to work with an ecosystem of partners to mitigate the operational complexity that the COVID crisis has created. I'll take the striking example of airline operation around the globe. As Christian has pointed out, many have been asked to verify their passenger COVID situation when they come to the airport to board on a flight. And this has totally broken the self-service check-in process. So just a bit of context on this self-service check-in process. It's here for nearly 2 decades to help airline passengers provide the required travel information a few days before coming to the airport. And in a pre-COVID year, you'll get maybe 2 billion passengers doing self-service check-in. So they have a shorter queue at the airport. And all this was broken when airline had to check the COVID situation of their passengers in the airport. Do they have the right test, done at the right time for this particular trip, or the right vaccine, for example. So the industry restarted this process in very manual ways, creating significant queues at the airport. To give you an idea, some airlines told us that with only 30–40% of the traffic, they needed something like 90% of their staff to operate this process. And in some cases, the time to verify passenger situation could be as much as 4 times the time it used to take before. And now if you multiply 2 billion of self-service check-in by, say, 30 minutes of queuing, I let you imagine the order of magnitude of the impact as travel ramps up again. But you heard it from Christian just earlier. We have worked with many partners to make this work again in as seamless way as possible. And I'm happy to report that 3 months post the launch of this initiative, live now with more than 10 airlines, we have many more coming to benefit from this self-service check-in automation once again. So in this session, I'll give you 2 perspectives on the progress we are making. The first one will be from the traveler point of view, and the second one from the airline and airport staff point of view. But let me start with the traveler. And for this, I'm going to play a very short video, just 1 minute, so we can all visualize the experience of this traveler ID for safe travel.
As air travel returns, airlines face the difficult challenge of handling health requirements and managing queues at the airport. For this, Amadeus announces Traveller ID for Safe Travel, a new solution that allows travellers to confirm their health documentation seamlessly in the airline's existing digital touchpoints, such as the airline's app or web portal. Prior to departure, travellers receive a notification with health requirement information for their journey. Traveller ID for Safe Travel makes it easy for travellers to confirm that they meet the requirements in just minutes by taking a photo of the health certificate or uploading the file. scanning its QR code, or accessing info from a digital health pass. And thanks to the Amadeus Airport Companion app, airline agents can quickly assist travellers at the airport, following the same simple process using tablet devices. Easy to use and seamlessly integrated with existing processes, Traveller ID for safe travel eases the passenger process and is giving airlines, airports, and most importantly, travellers the peace of mind and freedom to enjoy their journey.
Look, there are two things that makes the whole team supporting this initiative really proud of. The first one is that we are collectively going to give back to travelers millions of hours back, millions of hours that they would have otherwise lost to queuing. Travelers, as you saw in the video, are given clarity, what is required from them when they travel to a particular destination. And all of this comes from the airline, a brand they know often for decades and that they trust. There's no need to download any kind of third-party application for that. And travelers as well are given the choice to use a paper certificate or one of these digital wallets, which are mobile applications that can store proof of testing or vaccination on a mobile application. We support both options. And to check in ahead of the airport and reduce the queuing time, or either as well the choice to check in at the airport, shall you wish to do this. And the second thing that makes us all very proud is that this really is a collaborative effort across many companies who have joined forces to support the industry restart again at scale. You saw in this video some of these companies we work with, and we work with many more, for example, to support local or regional requirements for specific digital vaccination certificates, QR codes, or whatever. Now, let's take a look at the impact on the airline and airport side of the operation. The problem we tackled in December last year was twofold. Airline needed to bring back automation to check-in. And as I told you earlier, some airlines told us that with only 30–40% of the passenger traffic they used to have, they needed 90% of the staff to process the COVID status verification in the airport. And now, what if traffic comes back to 60–70% or more than it used to be? And the second challenge was the need to cover many different and changing local requirements, reason why we choose to work in collaboration with many local and regional partners. For the airline, we have already activated the Traveller ID for Safe Travel solution. Here is what we hear back a few months after the launch. Self-service check-in works again. Just a few months after the launch, we'll help airline process hundreds of thousands of traveler verification ahead of the airport, resulting in shorter queues and improved traveler satisfaction, as you can imagine. Some of the airlines we support have been able to activate this service on most of their return flight, for example, for checking that their travelers were coming back to their country of origin with the right COVID status. Secondly, what we hear is there's a range of options to pick from to adjust to the specificities of my business. We offer through the solution self-certification forms, digital passenger location forms, paper or digital wallet for storing your COVID test or vaccination certificates, and more. In particular, we heard from airline always a bit of hesitation from choosing a specific digital health platform. But with this solution, we include many, so airline have the choice and can change their mind over time with no additional integration required. So that's flexibility for the airline. And thirdly, we hear as well the confidence in our ability at Amadeus and with the ecosystem we work with to stay on top of the global and local requirements and to integrate all the moving parts of such a complex IT solution. I just let you imagine how interesting it gets in the case of flight with multiple legs across different countries with different requirements. I'm getting carried away too much. You can feel the passion we all have for the travel industry and for solving this particular challenge of our time. Maybe if there was two themes to take away from this session, I would make them these two. A, as promised in December, when we run a similar session as this one, we have mobilized a wide range of regional and local companies to build together a solution enabling airlines to streamline their traveler compliance to COVID. And the result is here, with hundreds of thousands of travelers already skipping the COVID queues in the airport. And two, we are not going to stop here. We are adding features on a monthly basis to support the evolving, changing local and regional requirements. So stay tuned and obviously stay safe.